March for Our Lives leaders have been meeting with lawmakers in Congress all week, urging them to pass gun safety reform laws. On Saturday, thousands rallied here in Washington demanding action. There's no cost estimate yet on the damage from Idalia. Criswell will be heading to Florida to survey the damage with DeSantis on Thursday. Josh, the candidates on the stage really took the opportunity to bash former President Donald Trump for not showing up to the debate. Congressman Jim Jordan, the Republican nominee for Speaker, faced opposition from 3 of Florida's GOP members during the first round of votes. Hi, Anthony. Well, former President Donald Trump is set to appear in court around 3 p.m. today. He said he will be pleading not guilty to the charges that will be read against him. Since the draft opinion was leaked last week, reaction has been pouring in from Republicans and Democrats in Congress. That leak has prompted Democrats in the Senate to take up the Women's Health Protection Act. What did you think of the president's speech on Israel last week?
Well, I thought it was really unfortunate that he conflated Israel and Ukraine.
Despite Deming's background in law enforcement, Rubio has racked up more law enforcement endorsements. DeSantis and Biden have been highly critical of each other in the past, but it really seems that they're putting politics aside in this instance for the hurricane. They've been in regular communication with each other, speaking today, and Biden also is sending FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell down to Florida.
The People's House is back in business.
With that, Louisiana Congressman Mike Johnson claimed the gavel as House Speaker Wednesday after 22 grueling days of bitter infighting among Republicans. Johnson united every Republican faction behind his candidacy, something the party's 3 other Speaker nominees failed to do.
The challenge before us is great, but the time for action is now.
A seal of approval from former President Donald Trump, coupled with his low profile and newness to Washington, made his candidacy palatable to both GOP hardliners and moderates.
A friend to all and an enemy to none, Mike is strong, tough, and fair, and above all, Mike is kind.
Johnson was a constitutional lawyer and state legislator before entering Congress. A staunch conservative, he was an architect of the House Republican efforts to overturn the 2020 election. But he steered clear of controversy Wednesday, voicing support for aid to Israel, border security, reducing inflation, and creating a bipartisan commission to reduce the deficit. Notably, he did not mention Ukraine.
We're in a time of extraordinary crisis right now. The country demands strong leadership of this body, and we must not waver.
Democrats said Johnson's election was more about who can appease Donald Trump and the GOP's right wing.
Has this been about a focus of House Republicans to find the person who can pass their extreme litmus test to oppose marriage equality, enact a nationwide abortion ban without exceptions, gut Social Security and Medicare, and support overturning a free and fair election? It's a fair question.
With a speaker in place, the House can finally bring bills to the floor again as it faces a government funding deadline in 3 weeks. Johnson says his first priority will be supporting Israel. In Washington, Corina Cappabianca, Spectrum News.
This is my way of living.
The popular Netflix docu-series Tiger King put a spotlight on the mistreatment of privately owned lions and tigers.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens, it's Carol at Big Cat Rescue.
Carol Baskin, the founder of Big Cat Rescue in Tampa, played a leading role in Tiger King, crusading for the protection of big cats. Baskin is hailing a new federal law that is supposed to end many of the practices exposed by the series.
The number of big cats that have been abused have been dropping, but the problem is that there's such a patchwork of laws across the country. Everybody's got different rules. Nobody knows what the other states' rules are. People are hopping and skipping across state lines.
President Joe Biden signed the Big Cat Public Safety Act this past week. It largely limits ownership of the animals to zoos, universities, and sanctuaries like Baskin's. It also ends the cub petting industry highlighted in Tiger King. In the series, Joe Exotic, who ran an animal park in Oklahoma and was convicted for violating federal wildlife laws, and his role in a murder-for-hire plot against Baskin, argued the practice was educational. But animal advocates say it's exploitative and dangerous.
I think that Tiger King played a role because I really think it showed people the real kind of fundamental abuse that was happening with these animals and how they were being exploited.
The federal legislation had broad support from lawmakers in both parties. One of the co-sponsors, Tampa Bay Congresswoman Kathy Castor, says its passage was a long time coming.
Tiger King has gotten a lot of attention over the past couple of years, but people who have lived here for a long time understand that big cat rescue has been one of the most important refuges for big cats that should not be kept as personal pets or in captivity. Hopefully that President Biden signing that will make it perfectly clear what is appropriate for big cats and what is not.
It was also supported by many in law enforcement.
For Republicans, the main thing was the public safety. They wanted to keep their constituents safe. They don't like a whole lot of government overreach. They believe in states' rights, of course. And so we had to explain why this was not a states' rights issue and why it really is important and how it's the first step to saving tigers in the wild.
Under the new law, private individuals who already own big cats will be allowed to keep the animals, but must register them with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. They also will not be able to obtain additional big cats or display them. In Washington, Corina Cappabianca, Spectrum News. After arriving by motorcade at the federal courthouse in Washington, Donald Trump was arraigned on 4 felony counts involving his efforts to remain in power after losing the 2020 election to Joe Biden. Trump said little during the nearly half-hour hearing beyond pleading not guilty, but he issued a brief statement at the airport before heading back to New Jersey.
This is the persecution of the person that's leading by very, very substantial numbers in the Republican primary and leading Biden by a lot. So if you can't beat him, you persecute him or you prosecute him. We can't let this happen in America.
The historic case brought by special counsel Jack Smith accuses Trump and 6 co-conspirators of knowingly promoting false claims of voter fraud and trying to pressure state officials, members of Congress, and even his own vice president to reject the election results. All of it, the indictment says, was an effort to undermine the will of voters and subvert the democracy Trump was sworn to protect. Trump and his lawyers say he had a First Amendment right to allege fraud and was following legal advice in challenging the election. Many experts say those are not valid defenses.
If my lawyer tells me I can kill you, it's still murder if I follow through on that. He was getting a great deal of legal advice from the Attorney General, the acting Attorney General, his own White House counsel, telling him that these were not appropriate things to do.
The latest charges follow a federal indictment out of Florida for allegedly mishandling classified documents and state-level fraud charges out of New York involving hush money payments to an adult film star. That means Trump will likely be balancing numerous court appearances as he runs for president again. His team has pushed to delay the proceedings until after the 2024 election.
This one, I think, could end up being tried relatively soon, sometime in the spring. And I don't see a lot of opportunities for the president's lawyers to stall.
This case will be back in court on August 28th when a trial date will likely be set, but Trump won't need to appear in person. In Washington, Corina Cappabianca, Spectrum News.